Ladies and gentlemen, when everything was going down, I said, Giuliani, Powell, President Trump himself, Peter Navarro, everyone involved with all the Michigas, everyone should have immediately gone on Joe Rogan, I was gonna say Stephen Colbert, but that too, whatever, CNN, MSNBC, but they should have gone on Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, Daily Wire, Brandon Tatum, Styx X and Hammer, let's see, who are, Kevin's Corner, there's so many great channels, Anthony Bryan Logan, Mark Dice, Steven Crowder, let's see, who else? Liberal Hive Mind. I mean, there are so many amazing channels that are like 4 to 5 to 600 to a million to 2 million to 4 million subs. They could have harnessed before the nutty individuals engaged in a tragedy, which, again, there's a double standard. When people of different political spectrums engage in horrendous atrocities of their own, it's fiery but peaceful. A billion to 2 billion in property damage, 14,000 arrests, something like that, 19 lives lost. Well, okay, that's for a good cause according to media. Anyway, that's a whole other story. There's a double standard. You cannot simply say, well, Democrats said that a Steele dossier purchased by Clinton and a moderate to high confidence assessment from Clapper and a third-party tech firm that was outsourced by the DNC, they leveled all these baseless allegations against Trump. But there's double standard. You need to create a dialogue, discourse, debate, discussion. President Trump should have gone on all of those channels. I mean, there's so many great channels out there. He should have simply, he should have had interviews with Jason Whitlock. He did have an interview with Jason Whitlock before November. But, the what's his name? The CEO of Barstool Sports. He did prior, but there were so many different ways to communicate and convey your message. If you wanted to say things weren't fair, you could have done so in a creative manner. Not a press conference where just the Just for Men with Giuliani melted. There's no point in that. So hit subscribe to this channel because I've been telling people you need to create a dialogue, discourse, debate, and discussion and then foster investigations, just like Democrats do. They create the dialogue, discourse, debate, and discussion, and it's predicated or it's based upon suspicion of Trump and everything that he could be doing, but we just don't know, but we'll find out from his tax returns, and we'll find out from the Mueller probe, and we'll find out. They've had his tax returns for 24 days. They found nothing. They had a Mueller probe for 3 years, close to 3 years. They found nothing. Operation Crossfire Hurricane, they found nothing. Hit subscribe to this channel because I told people you didn't have to create the Krakn, which is what Sidney Powell created. There's no reason for little catchphrases and, we're about to release the monster. There's no reason for that. You had everything at your disposal. Twitter was not the platform. God bless President Trump. I voted for President Trump because I want Americans home from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. The most immoral thing a country can do is send its citizens to fight in never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts where the adversary is unknown. And we learned the lessons of Vietnam, and we forgot those lessons, or we ignored those lessons, because Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, and President Obama, both political parties, got us into never-ending problems in a region of the world we shouldn't be in. I want American men and women home, back home to their families, their friends, their sisters, their husbands, their brothers, their sons, their daughters, their husbands, their wives, their sisters, their brothers, their sons, their daughters, their family, their friends, their fathers, their mothers. I want them home. That's what drives me. You could read my writing on hagoodman.com and The Hill, the Huffington Post, the Roanoke Times, the Jerusalem Post, other publications. I write against counterinsurgency conflicts. That's the greatest moral dilemma we face as a country, even though it's not on CNN and MSNBC, even though foreign policy has been relegated to Facebook ads. Democrats view election interference as a national security concern. That's not a national security concern. That's never been a national security concern in our country's history. Really, it's never been. Nobody has ever cared. And you can look, ladies and gentlemen, and the Democratic Party is so effective at communicating whatever talking point or propaganda they want communicated, because they have, there's not one element of American society that hasn't been inundated with a viewpoint that resonates among morally superior, oftentimes apoplectic, liberal Democrats. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, James Corden, Stephen Colbert, Trevor Noah, John Oliver, Saturday Night Live, MSNBC, CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, New York Magazine, The New Yorker, The Atlantic, The Daily Beast, BuzzFeed, Esquire, Vanity Fair, The Nation, Mother Jones, Time Magazine. Is that enough? And there's still more. Los Angeles Times. You can look every single major publication, aside from maybe 4 or 5 or 6 conservative publications, and even those conservative publications aren't always on board with Trump. And then you have Fox News, but that's not even on board. That network isn't even always on board with Trump. You have Chris Wallace. Where's the liberal equivalent of Chris Wallace? It doesn't exist. There is no person that's favorable to Trump at MSNBC or CNN. That person doesn't exist. Where's the publication on in mainstream that has a journalist that says, hey, you know what? Trump did a good thing with the Abraham Accords. He did a good thing with his foreign policy, first president to step foot in North Korea. He did a good thing with the economy. Record low unemployment throughout most of his tenure. He did a good thing with prison reform legislation. He did a good thing with renegotiating NAFTA into the USMCA. Oh, you know what? He was smart in tearing up the Trans-Pacific Partnership and engaging in tariffs. Where's that person? That person does not exist. So you have to find creative. You cannot engage in the traditional press conferences. You might as well just put a PowerPoint presentation on Windows 98 and just say, okay, well, this is what we think what happened, with everything the past 4 months or 5 months or whatever. And I'm abiding by YouTube policies. I'm simply saying that Sidney Powell almost certainly created the whole Krakn thing because it was a marketing ploy. But she didn't have to do that. Going on Newsmax is preaching to the choir. Going on Fox News is preaching to the choir. And that's even a smaller choir than Newsmax. You go on YouTube channels. You go on, have a discussion with Ben Shapiro. It'll be seen 1 million times. Or Joe Rogan, it'll be seen 10, 20 million times. Why didn't they do that? Have Peter Navarro with you. If you're President Trump, you have Peter Navarro with you, and you have anyone else you want with you. And they can answer the tough questions. But you don't go ahead and try to communicate and convey your message to people that will filter and dilute and twist and, mock you and disparage you and undermine you every second. President Trump and Powell and Giuliani, and what they did was they utilized press conferences and they utilized Twitter. And they didn't have to do that. This is 2021. You had all of these. You were able to. They could have simply found conservative Hollywood celebrities. There are about 4 or 5 or 6 really famous. Some of them are icons in terms of Hollywood. President Trump should have called up Roseanne Barr, an icon, a comedy legend. Should have said, hey, I want to talk to you about what took place. It would have been viewed 20 million times. I mean, there were so many things that Trump could have done. And there were so many things that Sidney Powell could have done. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't believe in absurd message boards that are complete hoaxes that cause dangerous outcomes. You don't you cannot preach to the choir anymore if you're President Trump. You have to reach out to people who are at least somewhat open. There are people out there that might not love Trump, but they're open to perhaps listening to him. Those are the people you have to reach. You got 74 million just from, having the entire planet against you. Imagine if you just reached out a little bit. So Sidney Powell essentially created the whole Krakn thing simply to, as like a marketing ploy. Okay, it's coming up, and you better believe it's gonna. But again, she didn't have to do that. She didn't have to do that. She could have simply created a dialogue, discourse, debate, discussion by going on any of the top conservative channels, or even the Young Turks, or even MSNBC and CNN. Answer the tough questions, get into the debates. That's what you need to do. I've been on CNN and MSNBC. You look into the camera. There's no you don't know what you don't know what you look like or who you're talking to, but you're just looking straight into a camera and you're talking, kind of like what I'm doing right now on YouTube. And you have the earpiece and the host is going back and forth with you, and you have a debate and discussion. It's not rocket science. Avenatti was going to run for president before he apparently, allegedly, or now I guess convicted of the whole thing with Nike. It's not difficult to do. It's not difficult to convey your message. You don't need to create this monster. Oh, we're releasing the monster. We're releasing the squid or the Kraken or the monster or the octopus or whatever. Oh my goodness, let's release that. That's what they called me in high school. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. I'll try to do a segment before midnight tonight as well.